Welcome back. So this time I thought I would tell y'all all of my favorite experiences that have actually shaped my life involving my favorite band, which is the Flamin' Lips. So when I was in high school, the very first time that I went and saw them for real, I made a duct tape alien costume because it was from one of their movies called Christmas on Mars. And we took a lot of mushrooms before the show. So we wound up finding what is referred to as the Animal Wrangler, which is the person that gives out passes for people to dance on stage with the band. So me and my friend ended up, going up there, although I was tripping so hard when we first got back that I was backstage and everybody was getting dressed into their costumes to dance. And I had no idea where I was or what was going on, and I just knew that people were taking their clothes off. So I was like, okay, I'm at some weird orgy and I'm just gonna have to go with it. I've got no idea what's going on, I'm just gonna roll with the punches. So then my friend comes back out because she was changing in another area, and I'm like, where are we? What is going on? And she was like, we're backstage with the Flaming Lips. Remember, we're gonna dance on stage? And I was like, oh yeah! So I'm able to pull myself back together. I end up meeting the lead singer who, it just absolutely blew my mind. And when he came backstage to meet everybody, I see him panning across the room and his face is just dead from the show. He's just clearly so exhausted, so worn out, probably doesn't even want to be meeting any of us at that point. And I see his eyes get to me in my duct tape costume, and his face just lights up, this amazing smile, and I was like, oh my god, I just did that. My costume made him that excited. And I never knew if this was in my head or if it was just the mushrooms, but anyway, I went on to write my college application essay on that whole experience. I took out the mushrooms part, but I just wrote about the show in general, and I got into every college that I applied to using that essay. I actually got merit-based scholarships for both of the ones that I used that essay for. So that was the first big thing they did for me, is they got me into college. And then about a year, maybe two later, I end up going to see them in Oklahoma City for their New Year's Eve freakout. And there I end up being a dancer again and meeting Wayne again, but this time instead of asking for a hug or a picture or an autograph, I said, hey, will you draw a tattoo for me? And he said, well, of course I'll draw a tattoo for you. And this is what he drew. This is my very, very first tattoo. I'm up to, I think, 20 now. But he literally drew my very first tattoo for me. So later on, I'm seeing them in Burlington. And at this concert, I meet somebody who says, hey, we're looking for massage therapists at this really nice spa. How would you like to come and work with us? So I end up getting this job through meeting this person at a Flaming Lips concert, and it was the best paying job that I had ever had because this was a bougie ass spa. I've at never point made that much an hour to this day, except for then. So I wanted to celebrate that whole job with my best friend at the time, and we end up celebrating by going to a music festival in Colombia. In Colombia, I absolutely fall in love with the country, even though I'm only there for a few days. And I meet friends while I'm at the music festival. And then I come back to the States. And then you know who got elected in 2016. And things just weren't really going well, especially for a girl like me as a massage therapist. As you can imagine, I think like half of my clients at that point were like, well, I can't have you as a massage therapist. Like, you know, obviously not. We need a real woman for our massage therapist. So things were going really crappy, and I was talking to my friends that I met on that trip with. They're from Ecuador, but they had moved to Colombia at that point. And they ended up inviting me to come live with them until I got my feet on the ground. And that is how I ended up moving to Colombia in the first place, was all from a Flaming Lips concert. So later on, I'm able to meet Wayne again. And I try to like jog his memory. I'm like, oh, remember like you drew my tattoo? And he was like, oh, I'm glad I could do that for you. You know, that's really cool. But he clearly didn't remember. And it was like, oh, you did the outgoing voicemail on my phone one time. And he was like, awesome. Like, you know, again, I'm glad I could do that for you. But just absolutely no memory. But then I said, hey, I was the kid at Merriweather Post Pavilion. And he says, in the duct tape. So after, it had been like 6 years at this point, and like, you know, he had seen me a few times since, but he didn't know it was me, but he still remembered my costume from that night all these years later, which made me realize that that smile was actually him. Like, it wasn't just me tripping my brains out. Like, I actually like made him that excited because that memory stuck with him so many years later. And that's about it. Now, I didn't want to tell every single lip story I have. I've seen them 10 times at this point, and something amazing happened every single time. But those are the ones that I thought were more interesting. Probably only Flaming Lips fans are gonna really like or get this video, but it's important to me, so I thought I'd share it with y'all. Anyway, have a good one.